Hi guys and welcome back to another video. Now in today's video I'm going to be bringing you a position that I think every League 2 club needs to improve ahead of the 22-23 season. Now if you do go on to enjoy today's video, a like as always will be massively appreciated. If you could try and hit 60 likes on today's video, that'd be absolutely class. Subscribe if you are new as well. We are now on the road to 6,000 subscribers, so make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already with that post notification bell on. Get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below as well. You'll know your club a lot better than what I will, and I've obviously done some research into a lot of clubs. I've also got some of your guys' thoughts over on my social media, so make sure you are following me on Twitter and Instagram. The links are down in the description down below. I asked you basically what team do you support and what position you think your club needs to improve. We're going to go through every single one of the 24 teams. Obviously, it is only the 12th of June at 2:30 at the time of recording, so maybe between now and the time this video does actually go, it obviously always does depend on Bradford City's transfer activity, then some things could change between now and then. But make sure you drop a like on today's video, subscribe if you are new as well, and let's get into it. Starting out then with Barrow, I have gone with a centre-half. They need a replacement for Matty Platt. He rejected a new contract with Barrow. He joined my team at Bradford City. They conceded the least amount of goals in the league from 15th downwards, but still finished 22nd, so you could maybe argue that they do need a striker, but Platt was unbelievable last season, and he has been for the past couple of seasons for Barrow. Deserves his move to a much bigger club, and he's finally got that. Hopefully he can do well at my team at Bradford City, but for me personally, I think Barrow needs a new centre-half. For AFC Wimbledon, I have gone with a striker. Obviously, I don't know too much about them as they were a team relegated from League 1 last season, so I haven't been keeping all too much up to date on with them, but I've gone with a striker that just simply did not score enough goals last season. Didn't replace Ollie Palmer when he left the club. I think he actually still ended up finishing their third top scorer throughout the season, and he left in January. I think they need a central midfielder as well if they lose Redoni. He's still got 1 year left on his contract, but I think he got 12 goals, 5 assists last season for them. He was crucial to them in the end, and even his goal output wasn't enough to keep them up, so I think they need a striker, but they probably will need a central midfielder as well if they do lose Redoni. Obviously, like I touched on earlier, every team will need more than just this position. I think this is just the main position where I've identified that they could do with some improvement. So AFC Wimbledon, I think their most important position which needs an upgrade is a striker. Centre-half is what I have gone with for my team at Bradford City. Obviously, Paudie O'Connor still yet to sign a contract. It currently leaves us with out-and-out centre-halves as Fika Kelleher, Reece Staunton, Matthew Platt, and you could maybe argue Jan Songo. I think he will be used more as a centre-half than a midfielder under Mike Hughes. So I think we definitely need one, maybe two more centre-halves. You could potentially send Staunton out on loan. It depends where Hughes plans on using Jan Songo, but I think if the season was to start tomorrow, you probably have Platt and Songo, add your two midfielders. I think that's not midfielders, sorry, centre-halves. I think that's probably slightly weaker than last season. If Paudie doesn't sign, we need probably two more centre-halves. If he does sign, probably only need one, but either way, I think centre-half is our weakest position at the moment. We could maybe do the right back, a couple central midfielders, and maybe another winger, in my opinion, but for Bradford City, I think our most important position to improve at the moment is centre-half. For Carlisle, again, I think they need a couple improvements in a lot of key areas over the pitch, but mainly I think they need a striker. They only scored 39 goals last season in League 2, which was the second lowest in the league. Only Scunthorpe scored lower goals than Carlisle last season. I think defensively they were quite poor at times, but their lack of goals in the end really has stopped them from pushing on higher into the table. You know, they were really good in the first half of the 2021 campaign, where they were scoring goals for fun really, but it hasn't worked out for them this season. They had a few managerial changes, but they've just simply not scored enough goals. The same could be said though for Colchester. Again, I have gone with a striker. Freddie Sears did very well last season, scoring 17 goals, but he's 32 now, and they didn't really have any other goal scorers in their team apart from Freddie Sears. You know, a couple of players chipped in with the odd few goals, but they didn't really have an out-and-out goal scorer like Freddie Sears. If he gets injured, I really do fear the worst for Colchester. I definitely do think they need a backup for him, or they could maybe play a two-striker system, have Sears and someone else up there, but for 32 years of age, you can't expect him to be playing every game in a 46, league game season in League 2. His body simply won't be able to cope with that. As much as he's a good goal scorer at this level, I think they need another option up there as well. Crawley was one of the teams that I got a reply for on social media. Somebody here says that they need a midfielder at the moment, but he's looking forward to see what Betsy can do with the players we already have. Makes sense. Obviously, there will be big changes at Crawley in the upcoming season with their new ownership, new management team. At the moment, I'd probably be backing Crawley to, be in a relegation fight going into next season. I'm really not impressed with what I've seen off the pitch so far from Crawley, but I wish him all the best. Central midfielder is where a Crawley fan thinks they need to improve the most. If you disagree or agree, let me know down in the comment section down below, because I think they did concede quite a few goals last season, so maybe a couple of defenders in there as well. For Crewe, I have gone with a striker. Long's okay at this level. Obviously, they do need a lot of players. I think they've only got like 12 players currently contracted to the club, and even some of them they've put on the transfer list, so they do need a lot of players, but Crewe just simply did not score enough goals last season. Finishing rock bottom is an absolutely woeful season. Granted, you could say that they also conceded far too many, but they just simply did not score enough. They didn't really like competing in a lot of games, and it's because they couldn't put the ball in the back of the net, so I've gone with a striker for Crewe. For Doncaster, this was another one that was suggested by one of you guys on Twitter. Somebody here says we need a few signings in different positions, mainly though left back. We have no recognised left back next season so far. In brackets, Roy's playing further up, even though he played left back at Bristol City, but we need at least 2 left backs, either 2 permanent or a permanent and a loanee option. So makes sense. Obviously Doncaster, they will be rebuilding, trying to get back up into League One at the first time of asking, as they were relegated last season. I think they finished 23rd, maybe 22nd. I think it was 22nd in the end. They managed to keep going until the final day of the season, although it was pretty much they were confirmed before that with the ludicrous goal swing that they needed. But that's another suggestion from somebody on Twitter, so thank you to everybody who did send in suggestions over on Twitter. It made my life much easier, so thank you very much. Another team that were relegated last season from League One was Gillingham. Now, I didn't get any suggestions over on Twitter, but they quite clearly do need a lot of signings. Neil Harris have already started some of their recruitment. They've brought in, I think his name's Sean Williams, the midfielder from Portsmouth. I think that is a good signing at this level. Lots of experience. They brought in another signing as well, but I can't for the life of me remember who that was. I've gone with the striker, though, as the main priority for Gillingham. Replacing Vidane Oliver, I think that is going to be a big ask. He scored a decent amount of goals last season for Gillingham, even though they were relegated in the end. Vidane Oliver himself has said he wants to move back up north. I expect him to go to a League One club somewhere up north. I can't see him dropping down into League Two, or he might as well have stayed at Gillingham, because there'll be probably a team competing next season. The fact that Neil Harris, I think he's definitely a championship standard manager. The fact that he's in League Two, Gillingham have done very well to recruit him, but I think mainly the main position that they need to improve on going into next season is definitely a striker. Grimsby Town was another suggestion that I got off one of you guys on Twitter. Someone here says, it was short and sweet really, just said Grimsby main priority is probably a winger, and it makes sense, if they're wanting to do well next season, they definitely are going to need to improve in key areas, and winger is definitely a key area on the pitch. I know they've had a couple injury problems with some of their wingers. Sean Scannell, former Bradford player, has been offered a new contract with Grimsby. I think he's yet to sign a new deal with them, but he has had his injury problems. With the amount of injuries that he has had throughout his career, really has hampered him, and that's the reason why he was playing National League football last season. Couldn't really get into the team, but Paul Hurst clearly sees a player in him, so definitely some cover for him, and obviously they have got other options who can play out wide as well. But according to this Grimsby fan on Twitter, a winger is somewhere where they definitely do need to improve. Grimsby fans, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Harrogate Town up next. Again, I think they do need a lot of players in a lot of key areas. Do they really have the budget to be going out and making 10, 12 signings? I don't think so. I've gone with a centre-half. They conceded 75 goals last season. That's the joint second worst in the whole league. They really do need a commanding centre-half who's going to take the game by the scruff of the neck. Someone like a Cal Gianni who went to Stevenage, maybe he might be on a little bit more money than what Harrogate can afford, but they were just far too soft and far too weak, especially from set pieces, just conceding really sloppy goals. So for me personally, a really, tall, commanding, 6'3", 6'4" centre-half who's going to dominate things at the back for Harrogate. Don't necessarily need to be the best on the ball, because it's all well and good having a centre-half who can pass the ball, but if they can't, do their main job, which is defending first, then you're going to struggle. So for me personally, I've gone with the centre-half for Harrogate. Next up then is Leyton Orient. Now, under Richie Wellens, I don't actually think they're going to need to improve all too much. I've gone with a central midfielder, though. They did release 2 central midfielders in their retain list. Darren Prattley's getting on a little bit, so maybe adding some energy in there I think would be a good option for Leyton Orient. But I think they've got good wide players like Theo Archibald, Paul Smythe as well, can play out there. I think they've got a good goal scorer in Harry Smith, good goalkeeper in Lawrence Vigouroux. I think they've got a good structure, good core in their team, so I expect them to be up there challenging next season, especially with Richie Wellens as their manager. But for me personally, I think central midfield is where Leyton Orient need to improve. Next up then is Mansfield Town. I have gone with a goalkeeper. Pretty obvious. I know they have already signed Scott Flinders, the former Cheltenham goalkeeper, on a 1-year deal. I expect him to be a backup though. Somebody here says now Bishop is off to Exeter by the sounds of it. Definitely a goalkeeper from a Mansfield fan. So like I said, Bishop was fantastic for Mansfield last season. Didn't actually realise he'd signed for Mansfield when I did my League 2 predictions right at the start of the season, but he was absolutely unbelievable for Mansfield last season. Arguably should have been in the team this season, but Liam Robertson is, keeping a clean sheet, winning every 2 games. He's absolutely unbelievable. So he, for me personally, just deserves to edge Nathan Bishop. But in terms of an actual goalkeeper, shot stopper, Bishop was absolutely fantastic. Looks like he's on his way to League One, Exeter, so a bit of a distance for him to travel, you could say, from Manchester. But for me personally, I think goalkeeper is somewhere Mansfield needs to improve. Next up then is Newport County. I think it's pretty much stating the obvious. Got to be a striker. Dom Telford looks very likely he's going to be leaving the club. He looks like he's going to be going to League One. Forest Green and Port Vale, 2 newly promoted sides, both very interested in the striker at this moment in time. That is what a Newport fan said on Twitter as well. Telford's going, so definitely a striker was what he said. It makes sense, the amount of goals that he scored last season, finishing top scorer in the league. I think he scored 26 league goals in the end. Fantastic season for Newport. They need to improve the players around him though, because as much as he's scored loads of goals, in the end, they didn't really count for all too much, so they need to tighten up that defence a little bit, but they definitely need to get a goal scorer in to replace the amount of goals that he scored. It's strikers galore for the next couple as well. Northampton up next. I have gone with a striker. Their defensive record last season was fantastic. Liam Roberts, their goalkeeper, is currently been heavily linked with a move to Middlesbrough, as well as John Guthrie. I think he's still yet to sign a new deal with the Cobblers, so if they move on, they definitely do need to replace them. But Northampton defensively were fantastic last season, but just simply did not score enough goals going forward. If they get a goal scorer, even if he chips in with 15 goals, he doesn't necessarily need to be a 20, 25 goal a season striker. Even 15 goals, Northampton could definitely get automatic promotion if they do keep Roberts and Guthrie, which I think at this stage probably is very unlikely, but I think the main position that Northampton needs to improve going into next season is a striker. Same thing could be said for Rochdale, just simply again did not score enough goals last season. Did alright in terms of chances created and all that sort of stuff, but in the end they finished 18th. They've only scored 51 goals. Simply not a good season for Rochdale, so a striker is definitely somewhere where they will need to improve. They signed Luke Charman from one of the National League North sides in the January transfer window. I think he scored 1 or 2 goals. That's just simply not worked out for him. Could potentially go out on loan, or maybe Robbie Stockdale, if he does stay at Rochdale, could maybe be the man that gets him scoring goals once again. But again, Rochdale, like Northampton and Newport, need to improve in their striker department. Salford City up next. I've gone with a centre-half. With the quality in Salford's squad, this one was quite hard, but that's only really if Turnbull doesn't sign a new contract. At the time of recording, I don't believe he has signed a new contract. No, Ash Eastham signed a new 1-year deal with Salford, but if he does go, if he does move on, they definitely do need to have a replacement. He played 41 games last season for Salford, only missing 5 in the league. He scored 6 goals as well, so he definitely does chip in with the odd goal every now and again. If he does stay, then, do they really need to improve anything? They'll probably go out and sign loads of players on, 8-9 grand a week, something ridiculous like that, because they can simply just afford to do that. So I've gone with a centre-half, only really if Turnbull leaves. Stevenage are up next, and I've gone with a centre-half. Last season, they conceded 68 goals. I think Piergiani is a good signing. Granted, it is from a club who have been relegated, but I think he was one of the bright sparks in that Oldham side. I think he does need a partner, obviously, with them releasing Scott Cuthbert. I think centre-half is a main position where they need to improve. Somebody a bit like Piergiani, maybe a little bit better on the ball, like what I was saying with Harrogate. You need someone who's commanding and, going to win everything in the air, which I think Piergiani is, and then you also need someone partnering him who's much better on the ball, but at the end of the day, it's League 2. They're going to need to be able to defend against the physical strikers. So Steve Evans, I think, is a really good manager at this level. I think he'll do really well with Stevenage next season. I think they will be able to finish maybe mid-table, potentially an outside chance of the playoffs. I think they signed 3 or 4 players in 1 or 2 days, and we've not really heard much come from Stevenage in the past couple of weeks or so. So Steve Evans needs to keep his recruitment going, and I think centre-half is definitely somewhere Stevenage need to improve going into next season. 5 more teams to go then, starting off with Stockport County. Now, this one was quite hard, to be honest with you. I was looking at maybe a right-back, but I think his name's Macaulay Southam Hall, something like that. I think he's decent, but I was looking at Miniham. Is he really good enough for EFL level? I know he's obviously been there a long time now, but I'm not so sure. So maybe a right back. I've gone with a winger in the end, though. I just think they lack a little bit of depth in the wide areas. If they get a really, really good either left or right winger, I think they'll, Stockport really will be challenging next season. There's some arguments over their fitness levels, because obviously the National League isn't as demanding as League 2, because there is still a few semi-pro teams at that level, but I think Stockport will be more than fine, to be honest with you. I've gone with the winger. Stockport fans, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below, because again, that one was a really tough one. Next up then is Sutton United. I've gone with central midfield. They obviously had a fantastic first season in the Football League. I think it was their first time actually in the Football League. League last season, but they've got an aging midfield in there, so if they freshen it up, get a couple youngsters in there as well, and you know, who knows what could happen for Sutton next season. Swindon Town is up next. Now again, I think they do need a lot of players going into next season. I've gone with a striker. I don't actually think they have a first team striker on the books at the moment. They had a couple of loans last season in Tyrese Simpson and Josh Davison. They both did alright, but they need a permanent striker who's going to score goals for them. Still up in the air what's going to happen with Harry McCurdy. At the time of recording, they still don't have a manager as well. Ben Garner recently officially joining Charlton Athletic on a 3-year contract, which did definitely surprise me, the length of that deal. But they got some nice compensation for him, so maybe they can spend that on a striker, potentially from the National League, but who knows. I think Swindon do need, you know, they've obviously got a lot of players out of contract as well. If they sign on, then maybe they don't need as many signings, because I think, you know, their core of their squad last season was very good. If they lose a few players, though, then, you know, they definitely are going to need to make a lot more signings. But for me personally, I think the main position where Swindon need to improve is a striker. Moving on then to Tranmere Rovers. Somebody on here on Twitter says Tranmere goalkeepers and wingers. I've gone with winger as the main priority because I just don't really think they have enough quality in there. Callum McManaman was one of the couple players released by Tranmere Rovers. I don't think he's been a bad player whatsoever. He's just been fairly inconsistent with Tranmere. He scored an absolutely beautiful goal against my team, Bradford City, on Good Friday. You know, we had 10 men. We were digging in, so resilient, and then it was just a piece of quality from McManaman in the 90th minute, which saw Tranmere pick up a point in that game. I don't think Tranmere are great whatsoever, so I think if they do improve in them wide areas, I don't think it'd be a bad thing whatsoever. I'd slightly disagree with the goalkeeper. I think Murphy is a decent option at this level. I know he's old. I think he's maybe in his 40s by now, but I think he is, you know, decent for Tranmere. He's done very well. Losing Peter Clark, though, I do think that's a pretty significant loss for Tranmere. I don't rate him all too highly, but he's gone to Walsall on, I think, a 1-year deal. He's pushing 40 as well now, so I guess that kind of lowers Tranmere's average age in their squad. But for me personally, I think the main position they need to improve is a winger. Final team then is Walsall. I've gone with a striker. So did Rory on Twitter. He said he's a Walsall fan and they definitely need a striker as well. George Miller did alright for them last season. I think he scored double digits in the league, but missed far too many chances. He could have genuinely got 20, 25 goals with the amount of chances that he missed. He's been heavily linked with my team at Bradford City. We have also signed Osadibe as well from Walsall for an undisclosed fee. So maybe a central midfielder is somewhere where Michael Flynn will look at, but I think the main priority for Walsall this summer is definitely going to be a striker. Lots of strikers on there, couple central midfielders, couple centre-halves, and a few wingers in there as well as the odd full-back. But I hope, as always, you have enjoyed watching today's video. If you have, please make sure you drop a like on it. If you could try and hit 60 likes, as I said at the start of today's video, that'd be absolutely class. Subscribe if you are new as well. We are now on the road to 6,000 subscribers, so make sure you are subscribed if you haven't already, with that post notification bell on. Get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below. Where do you think your team needs to improve for next season? We could potentially go into a little bit more depth and we go one player, which I think every League 2 club could sign. We could maybe do that. If you're interested, let me know your thoughts in there down in the comment section down below. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you all very soon for another video. Peace.